And good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? It is so good to see you. Welcome back to class. We are in week 11. So I hope everybody's doing well. Let's see what's up here. Let's just turn that away. That's not helping today. Okay. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing, Ryan, Amala, April, Yanan? Good to see everybody. Can you hear me? How's my sound coming through today? I was messing with my microphone, so I'm not sure if the sound is clear. Can somebody please give me a little bit of input? Morning, John. Morning, Amber. Wow, fantastic. Sounds good? Okay, good to see you. So, holy cow, let's see. We are 2/3 of the way through this semester. Let's see. Week 10 would have been, we got 15 weeks, so we are now in week 11. I don't know if everybody's getting excited about Thanksgiving. Anybody have plans for Thanksgiving this year? Who's got good plans for Thanksgiving? Are we cooking? Ryan? Oh, right, that's good. Finally don't have to get up at daybreak to go to work. How are you feeling, by the way, Ryan? Have you recovered from your little medical procedure last week? I hope you're feeling better, my friend. Anybody going to grandma's? Who's cooking? Anybody cooking a turkey? Cooking a ham? Who's got stuff going on? I think I'm going and going to try to eat somebody else's meal this week. I don't want to cook. Good deal. I had to get my necklace messed around. I'm doing good. Let's see. You know, I'm cooking and going to grandma's family's house. Nice. Good job, April. Hope you're cooking something good. Thanksgiving can always be a real pain in the butt when you have to cook all that stuff. Amber, you're cooking some sides. There you go. That's the way to do it. Take a pie or some green bean casserole to grandma's. I like it that way too. Ryan's feeling better. He was out of work for a couple of weeks, but he's going back soon once I get cleared. Cool, no problem. I appreciate the sickness and the medical procedures. It definitely is something I'm familiar with. So this week, chapter 11 is all about health psychology. Good morning, Shavoni. Good to see you. So this week we're talking about health psychology, and we're going to talk about those psychologists who were interested in help us to live better, longer lives. So if you've ever wanted to change your eating habits, change your behavioral habits like smoking or drinking or taking drugs or doing anything else, if you've ever wanted to decrease your level of stress, if you've ever wanted to live a better life, health psychologists are the people who are tasked to help you. Now this week, like many areas of psychology, this is going to be a combination of biology and medical science as well as psychology. In fact, some of the things that I'm talking about, you might say, why do psychologists even care about that? It's because any aspect of your physical living is something that health psychologists are interested in. And so what we're going to do this week is we're going to talk about what this area of psychology can give to you as a human being to help you live a better, longer, fuller life. Good morning, Ashley. Thanks for coming in. We're talking about Chapter 11, Health Psychology this week. So it's a multidiscipline area that's interested in helping human beings achieve well-being and live longer lives. I don't know if you know this, but do you folks know what that in the last 120 years, life expectancy in America has increased greatly? So life expectancy is the time at which average life expectancy is a term that is used to describe the point at which half of your cohort members have died. So I was born in 1969. If the average life expectancy for my cohort is 80 years. That means in the year 2049, half of the people born in 1969 will be dead. So we talk a lot about average life expectancy, all right, and then we talk about what you might call your I forget your total life expectancy. So the lifespan that we can live is about 120 years. That's sort of the longest that you're going to live. At what point are half of us going to be dead? If you look at this graph that I've got up here in the corner here, I'm not very good at pointing at different things. You'll notice that in 1770, all over the world, the average life expectancy was less than 40 years. Can you imagine that? Over half of your cohort members would be dead by the age of 40. And if you look, that line stayed pretty flat until the 1850s and 1860s, when we started to learn about bacteria and viruses and all of those dirty things that would kill us and decrease our lifespan. And if you look, you'll see that average lifespan began to climb all over the world. But still, I want you to know that in 1900, the average lifespan here in America was 47 years of age. Tons of people died in childbirth. Tons of people died in infancy. There were lots of deaths that could have been prevented. And what I want you to know today is that now here in 2020, the average lifespan is 80, which means that half of us will live to at least 80. Think about that. In 1900, the average lifespan was 47. In the year 2000, average lifespan is now 80. Think about that. We have learned so many things that have allowed human beings to live and longer, fuller lives. And if you look, it actually depends, lifespan still changes depending upon where you live in the world. If you look, people living in Africa have the lowest average lifespan. People in Asia and Latin America have the next highest average lifespan. And if you look at North America, the average lifespan is up there really, really high. And so what are the factors that allow us to live these longer, happier lives? This is sort of the area that health psychology is interested in. Let me actually show you a nifty little graph real quick. Let me see, there it is right there. I don't know if anybody know anything about this, but there are people who keep track of the factors that kill us. So we know what the leading causes of death are by age group here in the United States. Did you know that the most common cause of death in the first year of life is birth defects? Birth defects, that is, problems that occur in utero. Look at that. And then after the first year of life, the most likely cause of death until you reach the age of 44 is unintentional injury or accidents. Now think about it. What do we talk about incessantly on TV and with cars? What do cops do when they stop you for speeding? They look to see whether or not you're buckled up and whether or not you've been drinking alcohol. You may have wondered, why do people care so much about whether or not people in America wear their seatbelts? You know why? Because the most likely way you'll die is based upon is an accident, right? And if you look here in your teenage years, the second leading cause of death is suicides. What do we talk about in the media? What do we care about with teenagers? We want to deal with their emotional state and prevent them from committing suicide. If you look, people my age in the 50s and 60s, what's most likely to kill you? Cancer and heart disease. What do they tell us not to do? Don't smoke, eat vegetables, and stay away from high-fat foods. Now, if you think about it, this knowledge that we have about what kills people allows us to create interventions that help prolong people's lives by taking away those accidents, those things that may kill us, right? So we make sure that expectant mothers go to the hospital, go to their OBGYN and have regular checkups, because we want to see if we can intervene when children have birth defects. We want you to lock up your child-proof your house, wear your seatbelt, and not drink alcohol, because we don't want people from 1 to 44 to have accidents. We tell you not to smoke and to eat healthy, because we want to prevent you from dying of cancer or heart disease as you get older. So if you think about it, the more we know about what makes people sick, the better we can create interventions that allow people to avoid dying for silly reasons. And this, my friend, is why the average lifespan was 47 in 1900 and is now 80 here in the year 2020. So if you think about it, we can really have a great impact on people's lives if we know what makes people sick, and we create situations that allow people to live in safe ways. Doesn't that sound interesting, right? And so health psychology is part of the interdisciplinary group that is responsible for helping us understand what the things are that cause dangers to us, so that we can live healthier, happier lives. Now, I'd like to introduce you to my grandma, Nana. This is a picture of her in her 100th birthday. She's actually going on 102 right now. And you know what? My Nana had a lot of great ideas about how you can live a long, happy life just like her. And you know what? I'd follow Nana's rules, because you can't argue with success, right? She wants you to eat your greens, get yourself outside, no smoking, no drinking. Join you a bingo league and have some friends. You know what? Nana's a big fan of going to prayer meeting, going to church and meeting people, right? She wants you to find yourself a sweetie. Got to have you somebody to talk to on those long, lonely nights. You know what? Nana's also a big fan of facing your problems directly, not hiding from your problems. And you know what? Nana always said, have a great attitude, because it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. So one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to adopt and live by Nana's rules for living, because it'll help you live a long and happy life just like Nana did. Now, if anybody's interested, there's a video that I've got in the course resources folder today called Dan Gilbert's. It's Happiness, What Your Mother Didn't Tell You. And Dan Gilbert provides a great TED Talk that's about 45 minutes long on the secrets to happiness. So what is it about love, kids, and money that makes you happy? Did you realize that, yes, having money is good, but really all you need is about $70,000 a year. Any more money doesn't really make you that much happier. We need a certain amount of money to fulfill our needs, but then after that, quit chasing money, because it's not going to make you a happier person. All right, so this is sort of what health psychology is interested in. What are the rules? What are the insights that can help us live happy lives? Now, here's the thing. I know I've talked about average lifespan, but really it's not about how long you live. It's about how long and how well you live. So we're not going to focus necessarily on a long life, but we're going to focus on what's called well-being. Has anybody ever heard that term well-being before? That's actually a term that health psychologists and developmental psychologists use, and it refers to not only living a long disease-free life, but also living a life where you're happy and engaged and have meaning, right? So well-being isn't just about living a long life. It's about finding meaning in life. It's about being happy. It's about being engaged with society. In fact, you know, there are some countries that don't look at gross domestic product as a measure of their country's success. They look at gross domestic happiness as a measure of their country's success. And so what I want you to think about in terms of living a long and happy life is let's focus on the term well-being. Now, what is it that allows us to, what are the factors that affect our well-being in the length of our life? Well, I want you to look at this graph underneath me. It's not just one thing, it's a lot of things. Now, for sure, it's your biological characteristics. Now, Grandma lived to be 100 years. Her grandma lived to be 99. Her mom lived to be 99, and then the mom before her mom lived to be in her 90s. You know, my grandma has good genes. And so you can't argue with good genes. Your biological characteristics are definitely an important factor. But you know what? It's not all about genes. There are other factors that affect how long and how well you live. So psychological factors, having a positive attitude really affects the length and quality of your life. Being depressed, being anxious, being neurotic, all of these psychological factors also affect our quality and length of life. And then, you know, we talk about race and ethnicity. We talk about poverty. There are also social factors that affect the length of our life too. So yeah, good genetics is important, and I hope all of you have made the decision to have good genes. But aside from good genes, you also need to have the right mindset and the right environment to really get the most out of life. And so let's talk a little bit about these factors that are important, these psychological and emotional factors that are important in creating a long and happy life full of well-being. I see that Ronique has joined us today. Good morning, Ronique. Always good to see you. Thanks for coming today. We're talking a little bit about well-being, which is not just living a long time, Ronique, but living a happy, engaged long time, right? So you don't want to be 100, you want to be a happy 100-year-old, just like my grandma. By the way, Ronique, this is my grandma. She turns 102 in a month. And you know what? She actually worked until she was 95. She used to work at the retirement center helping the old people, she said. Yeah, she's an amazing person. All right, so a health psychologist. Health psychology is an applied form of psychology. If you remember from chapter 1, we talked about basic research in applied psychology. And a health psychologist is an applied area where they use what we learned in psychology and they go out in the world and try to help people. So health psychologist, if you're interested in helping people in this sort of way, you might want to consider a health psychology PhD. And people from this subfield help people develop habits that lead to health and well-being. What are some of the areas that are interesting to behavioral health psychologists? Smoking, alcohol, and drug abuse, unhealthy eating behaviors, either eating too much or not eating enough, the effect that exercise can have on your health, behaving responsibly when it comes to sexual practices, and as we're going to focus on Thursday, stress. We're really going to talk about stress on Thursday. All right. Yeah, helping the old people. Isn't that hilarious, man? This lady was a force of nature. You know, until she hit 100, she actually drove her own car around town and lived by herself. She managed 3 or 4 rental properties. This lady was a force of nature. Now, she's since developed a chronic illness and she needs care. So she's not the Nana I remember, but she did pretty good for the first 100 years of her life, right? So what we're going to talk about today is smoking, eating, and exercise. And we're going to kind of hit them, and you're probably going to know some of this stuff, but we're going to reiterate these healthy habits that you need to engage in order to live like Nana. Okay, now regular exercise, especially aerobic exercise, is going to be associated with lower rates of cancer, lower blood pressure, reductions in heart disease, and a longer life. How many of you engage in regular exercise? Raise your hand if you engage in regular aerobic exercise. Anybody? Anybody? Go ahead and type in the chat bar and let's see. Amber Casey, good for you. I am so proud of you. You know, the weird thing is we spend a lot of time playing as kids, and then we lose that habit when we grow up. We think it's silly to play, but running around outside is the healthiest thing you can possibly do. Ronique, there you go. Ryan, fantastic. Right, yeah, you broke your wrist on Wednesday, so, but hey, you were doing it playing a sport, some softball. I hope it's feeling better, by the way. Ashley, are you still in pain? Go ahead and type in the chat bar and let me know. But I hope you're doing better. Absolutely, play a sports league. You know, the cool thing about a sports league is not only do you get the physical exercise, but you also get the social interaction, which is very important too. And so I think that's a great idea. You know, even though I'm not much for those big muscle-bound guys, resistance training is also very good too. It's going to allow you to walk and move around and be pain-free longer in your life. So not only do you want to engage in the Stairmaster and walking, but if you can do some push-ups and push a little weight, that's also going to help. Now, I'm not talking about getting there and bench pressing 200 pounds like the big meatheads. Absolutely not. But a little bit of resistance training with some dumbbells, with some squat thrusts, any resistance training that you can add to your aerobic exercise is going to make you more mobile as you move into the older years of your life. Now, you young folks that are 21, 22, 23, you probably don't think about losing your mobility, but I promise it's coming. And you know what? I'm in my 50s now. When I get up in the morning, my back is kind of sore and I got to get loosened up. So I can tell even my body's starting to slow down a little bit. So you're going to want to engage in some exercise to help protect you from the negative effects of aging. Ashley is not taking pain meds unless you're going to sleep. Good deal. Okay, so the pain is manageable. That's very good for you. The other days I'm taking it easy. I broke my arm playing. Oh, wow. You broke your arm. You play cricket? That is super cool, Ronique. You play cricket around here? You live in Raleigh right now, Ronique. If you do, send me a text. I'd love to go see a cricket game. I'm a baseball player, so anything with a bat and a ball is very, very interesting to me. And I've even watched some cricket matches. God, they take a long time. So I'd be interested to go see a cricket match. All right. Now, here's the thing. Not only are you going to have good physical impacts of exercise, but you know what? It's going to keep that mind sharp. Did you know that regular exercise, especially aerobic exercise, increases your cognitive ability as you get older? In developmental psychology several weeks ago, we talked about the loss of intellectual abilities that occurs as we get older. We talked about crystallized intelligence versus fluid intelligence. I don't know if any of you remember that. But you know what? Regular exercise is going to increase that brain volume, or at least keep that brain volume from decreasing, because your brain starts to die and you start to lose brain volume as you get older. So the more you exercise, the slower that decrease in brain volume is going to be. And the more brain you got, the better your memory is. And also, it's going to protect you from dementia. Most forms of dementia, like Alzheimer's and whatnot, are caused by loss of brain tissue. So if we're preventing that tissue loss, which prevents memory losses and dementia. Okay, and you know what? Exercising is also going to improve emotional impact. It's going to impact our emotional functioning. Regular exercise is associated with improved emotional functioning. When you engage in exercise, your body's going to release those endorphins, right? And these endorphins are going to impact our these endorphins are going to give us emotional rewards. They're going to motivate us, and they're actually going to improve our depression level, and they're going to help prevent us from falling into unhealthy alcohol use habits. You know what? I'd like to see each and every one of you exercise for an hour a day. But you know what? If you ain't got an hour, give Dr. Roddenberry 10 minutes. Get outside your house, walk up and down the street at a brisk pace. 10 minutes. That's all you need to do, and it will help you, your mind, it'll help your emotions, and it'll actually keep you more physically helpful as you move into your life. All right, and so exercise. You folks probably know this. You've heard that you should be exercising, but these right down below are the reasons why you should engage in exercise. Now, we also want to maintain a healthy weight, right? Now, you folks may not know this because I look so skinny and thin now, but about 5 years ago, I was obese. Okay, I am 5'6.5" tall, and my weight now is about 145. So my BMI is pretty. Let's see, I'm in kilograms. Oh, geez. Oh, there we go. Pounds. So right now I am 5'7". Let's say 5'7". Doggone it. My BMI is about a 20. Very, very healthy. You know what? 5 years ago, I weighed 210 pounds. As a 5'7", that put me solidly in the obese category with a BMI in the 30s. I lost 65 pounds 5 years ago. Okay, now here's the deal. I went to the doctor because I was not feeling well, and the doctor said your blood sugar's high, your cholesterol level's high, your blood pressure's high, and the doctor wanted to put me on all of these medications, but I didn't want to start taking medications as a 46-year-old guy. So I said, Doc, is there a plan B? And he said, yes, you can lose a lot of weight. And so I got myself in the gym, I quit eating fried chicken and hamburgers, and I started eating green vegetables and beans and peas. And you know what? It was hard, but I've learned that eating, that you don't go on diets, you change your lifestyle. And so what I was able to do is I was able to affect a lifestyle change. And I went from barely fitting into my 36 jeans. Actually, I was spilling out of my 36 waist jeans to now I wear size 30 jeans. And I'm not saying that you're a bad person if you're overweight, but what I want you to know is that a lot of these biological markers that your doctor is following, like your blood sugar, your cholesterol level, and your blood pressure, are going to be affected by your weight. All right. Now, weight, of course, is a great example of the biological, the biopsychosocial model that I mentioned a couple of slides ago. Yeah, we do have genetic factors, and some of us may be born with genetic factors that make us a little bit heavy. I totally get that. I totally get that, and that's something that you may have to fight against. But you know what? It's also a mind game here too, and it's the environment that you put yourself in. So, you know, a lot of times people get sad and depressed, and they decide to eat their way out of sadness. I totally get that. You're anxious, you're nervous. Eat something, eat something. It feels good. Food gets in your stomach, and it makes you feel happy. That's great, but that's a destructive habit. Instead, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling anxious, what if you could change your habit to where you went outside and went for a walk, or you did yourself some push-ups and sit-ups? Just change your habit, because your mind can make you want to eat, and it can make you want to engage in unhealthy eating habits. Just change your habit, right? And then there's the environment that we put ourselves in. There are cultural factors. Where I come from, we eat a ton of fried food. I was born in Alabama. My family's from Georgia. We fry literally everything we eat. It's all fried. I used to use my deep fryer 3 or 4 times a week. We were eating fried chicken, fried shrimp, fried this, fried that, French fries, tater tots. I use my deep fryer 4 to 5 times a week because you know what? That's how I was raised, and that's my culture. And what I had to do when I lost 65 pounds was I had to step outside my culture. And so I suddenly had to learn how to eat grilled fish. I learned how to grill my chicken instead of frying my chicken. I learned how to eat green beans instead of French fries. And so I had to step outside my culture. So really, yeah, there are lots of factors that can affect our weight. And you may, if you look at yourself honestly and objective, you might see that sometimes you eat because you're sad. Sometimes you eat too much and eat poorly because that's how you were raised in your culture. But you know what? You have to make a conscious effort to step outside of these factors. And I know it's hard, but you can do it. I swear to God, it was the worst 4 months of my life losing that weight, but you can do it. And when you get to the end of it, you'll feel so proud of yourself. So if any of you are struggling with weight, please take Dr. Roddenberry's advice. If I can lose 65 pounds, you can lose 35 pounds, okay? Now, here's the deal. It is super duper hard, and they ask me why I exercise. Exactly. You know, that's a good point, Amber. Your family will give you a hard time. God bless her, my wife needs to lose quite a bit of weight. And I remember when I went, it was a January 1st. I was one of those stupid people that made a New Year's resolution. And I remember my wife ridiculed me for 4 months because I refused to eat the things that the rest of the family was eating. She kept saying, "Why do you go to the gym every day?" Because that's the first thing I did every day. She actually used to laugh at me and make fun of my behaviors. And you know, she's a nice person, but my wife did not support my weight loss regimen because it was different than her culture. And you're right, Amber, your family can sometimes be a obstacle to losing weight. Great point to mention. Great point to mention. It is super hard to step outside of your culture, Ronnie. It is super duper difficult because your family will give you that negative feedback and you're used to eating certain things. But I promise it can be done. It can be done. And if anybody's interested in getting some advice, I don't have time to give you the Roddenberry plan, but I can show you how I did it, and maybe it'll help you if you are looking to lose 10 or 15 or 20 or 45 pounds. I can help you, okay? Now, here's the deal. Obesity rates for United States citizens have doubled since 1980. Dude, we are all getting fat. In fact, when I'm out on the baseball field, umpiring on the weekends, it seems like all of these little 10-year-old and 11-year-old kids are overweight. They all have beer bellies, not beer bellies because they're only 10 or 11, but they all have fried chicken bellies. And I'm surprised at how many of these kids at 9 and 10 and 11 are overweight. Obesity rates for United States citizens have doubled. We're living the good life and it shows. You know what? Obesity rates are even higher for minority women. And did you know that obesity rates for children have increased 400% since 1960. It used to be that all kids were thin as rails, but now lots and lots of kids are overweight. And you know what? Being overweight as a child predicts health problems as an adult. So when I see an obese 10 and 11-year-old, I know that that kid's going to have lots of problems as an adult. Okay, Roni, why don't we meet in a chat and I'll give you my plan. And it's really quite simple, but it's like eating your green beans. You're not going to like it, but it's a simple plan, and it's not so much what you do, it's a way of thinking, Roni. But I'd definitely love to talk to you about that. Right now, cultural factors do affect this increasing BMI in industrialized society. You know, one of the things that absolutely kills me is when I used to go to a fast food restaurant, or actually I don't go to fast food restaurants anymore. That was one of the things that I quit doing, Ronique. But when you go to a fast food restaurant, Every time you get that combo meal, what size drink do they give you? Freaking every drink is 32 ounces of sugar. If you actually looked and did a little research and found out how many calories and sugar were in that drink you get with your McDonald's combo meal, you would be shocked. It would absolutely appall you to know how much sugar you put in your body every time you get the combo meal. You notice fries, everything is go large now, go large now. We're getting the quarter pounder Whopper. Everything is bigger and bigger and bigger. And so these portion sizes are not helping us. And you know, when I was a kid in the 70s, going to McDonald's was something you did very rarely. We hardly ever went to McDonald's. Now, most people will eat fast food at least once a day, right? And so the deal is, we've changed our habits as a culture. We're having bigger portions and we're eating worse. We're eating out more at fast food restaurants. And step one, Ronique, step one is to quit going to fast food restaurants. That's one of the things I did. I haven't been to a Bojangles in years. I will occasionally go to a McDonald's, but if I do, I'll get a small fry and a small cheeseburger with water. Number one key to losing weight is to quit drinking everything but water. You spend tons and tons and tons of calories on drinks every day. If you just cut out all the drinks and switch to a water-only diet, you'll be surprised. I'll bet you lose yourself 10 pounds without even thinking about it. You would be shocked, right? Now, what are factors that affect individual BMI? If your friends are heavy, guess what? You're hanging out with your friends, you're going to be heavy too. Of course, there are genetic links, adoption studies, just like we show that that IQ and personality have genetic links. Adoption studies and behavioral genetic studies have shown that people with similar genetic backgrounds have similar BMIs. You know, and here's the thing, but if you get overweight, people are going to judge you and stigmatize you, and it doesn't feel good. And I hate to say this, but people treat me a lot differently now that I've lost 65 pounds. It's not fair. It shouldn't be the way it is. But people who never talk to me now talk to me. And it seems so unfair that being overweight should have these negative connotations. Unfortunately, it does. And I'm telling you, when I was really, really overweight, I was a little bit embarrassed about myself. I was a little bit anxious. I was a little bit neurotic. I did not feel good about myself. So obesity is going to affect the way people treat you, and the way people treat you is in turn going to affect the way you feel about yourself. So I do want each and every one of you to think about maybe changing your lifestyle. Don't go on a diet. Diets don't work. Change your lifestyle, and it can help. Amber Casey only drinks water other than a cup of coffee each day, and you drink a couple of beers. You know, I hate to say this, but actually the research suggests that a beer or a glass of wine a day is actually helpful for you. But if you're trying to lose weight, I would suggest don't do that. But yeah, if you want to have the occasional beer or the occasional glass of wine, your doctor will probably tell you that's okay. But lose the soda pops. Lose the soda pops and the sweet tea. I come from the South. All of y'all are from the South. We love our sweet tea. But you got to lose that if you want to affect your health. As the guys in the gym like to say, you cannot outwork the dinner table. If you're going to eat poorly, there's really almost nothing you can do in the gym to affect your weight. So losing weight, Ronique, and I'm going to tell you about this, is a two-pronged process. You got to change the way you exercise and increase your exercise. But the most important thing you have to do is you have to change your habits of eating. A shot of whiskey is supposed to be better for your heart than red wine. All research I've done supports it as well, as which I thought was interesting. That's interesting. I didn't know that whiskey it is. See, that's actually one of my favorite drinks when I was behaving unhealthily was Jack Daniels, and I could drink quite a bit of Jack Daniels. So I could definitely get behind the whiskey diet, Ryan. But you did not hear that here from Dr. Roddenberry. He's a whiskey guy too. Sweet tea was the hardest not to drink all the time. Yes, absolutely. It's a freaking habit, Ashley. It's a habit you get into. And that's what I found is I just had to change my habits, because you'd be surprised how much eating and drinking you do thoughtlessly. And what I'm going to tell you, Ronique, is you have to go from eating thoughtlessly to eating thoughtfully. Think about everything you put in your mouth. And what you're going to find is that if you start eating consciously, that is, you start thinking about the calories and the sugar and all the food you eat as a habit, you're going to stop eating that stuff. Exercise thoughtlessly. So I have my gym clothes, and every day I grab them and I go to the gym. That's my habit now. Just like drinking used to be a habit for me, now exercise is my habit. I do that thoughtlessly. What I do thoughtfully is I eat very thoughtfully. I think about everything I put in my mouth. Okay, now here's the deal. I don't want you to think that being skinny is the only thing that matters, because you know what? There are some people who take that to the extreme, and that can be problematic as well. Some people feel bad about themselves, especially females in puberty, because one of the things that happens, our body changes a little bit as we go through puberty. And for females, this change is going to be a little more pronounced than for the males, and this change is going to involve the development of fat. And you know, actually, you need a certain level of fat, in body fat, as a female in order to menstruate properly and to be able to get pregnant. Women who suffer from one of the characteristics of anorexia is that it messes up your menstrual cycle, and it's hard to get pregnant. So females actually need a little bit of fat on their body in order to get pregnant. And one of the things that your genes are going to do as you move into puberty is it's going to put this fat on your body. And especially for females who go into puberty first, this can also sometimes be problematic for that young girl who starts growing breasts and wide hips at 10 years old or 11 years old before the other girls do. And so sometimes people can take these cues and feel badly about themselves and actually engage in the alternate problem, which is not eating enough. I don't know if you folks have ever heard the term over here, body dysmorphic disorder. It's a clinical psych term, and this is a disorder characterized by a compulsive preoccupation with perceived flaws in the personal appearance. My nose is too big, my ears are too big, my eyes don't look right. There are many different types of body dysmorphic disorder, and BDD is not necessarily an eating disorder. Although the triggers for BDD and eating disorders may be similar, some people with eating disorders actually do have body dysmorphia. They're not the same thing. Anorexia is not body dysmorphic disorder, but there are some people who feel ugly or who think that body parts are grotesque. And sort of these negative self-image feelings can drive people to engage in unhealthy eating behaviors. Now, you folks have probably heard of anorexia nervosa. It's the eating disorder where you don't eat at all and you lose weight. And some people engage in anorexia bulimia, which is where they eat, but then they purge by throwing up. Both of these are disorders where people restrict calories to an unhealthy point. Both of these are going to include a criteria where the body weight is too low and there's an excessive focus on food intake. You want to think about what you eat, but you don't think about it all day, every day, to the exclusion of everything else. Typically, it's going to begin in adolescence, and you may not know this, but males can actually suffer from anorexia just like females. Although it's more common in females, males do have it too. And you know, this sometimes leads to loss of bone density, and it can affect your heart problems. Now, we're going to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy in chapter 14 and 15 when we get to psychological disorders. And usually what doctors do is they'll use cognitive behavioral therapy to treat this. However, once it gets in the mind, it's really difficult to treat people suffering from anorexia nervosa. Now, bulimics may be of average weight or even a little overweight, but what they do is they engage in unhealthy eating behaviors. They'll eat and then they'll throw up. And I don't know if you know this, but 1% to 2% of high school or college age women are actually going to experience anorexia, bulimia. Body dysmorphic is at an all-time high due to social media and those that filter their photos. You know, that's a good point, Amber. The internet and social media are ruining the world. And in fact, I've got several books that can show that where kids' psychological problems and the problems that we see in early teenage are exploded since 2003, which was the introduction, or 2008, the introduction of the smartphone. You're right. Everybody on Facebook is doing that. And every time I see a picture of somebody, I'm like, holy Facebook filter, Batman, right? Your face is perfect. I always try to post the old normal Chris Roddenberry when I do post a picture. But you're right, there's a ton of pressure to look perfect and be perfect. And all of our TikTok and Instagram influencers look so beautiful, and our movie stars look so beautiful that we forget that they have makeup artists, they have personal trainers, they have filters and people who touch up their photographs that make them look perfect. But you know what? They're just as funky looking as we are. But you're right, social media is definitely leading to an increase in these sort of physical appearance related disorders. Now, some people engage in binge eating, which is regularly and repeatedly eating more food than is normal during a short period of time. People who binge usually tend to do it at least once a week, sometimes more than once a week. And this binge eating leads people to feel really guilty and embarrassed about themselves, which affects their self-esteem. Of course, binge eating is typically associated with obesity, right? When you're binge eating a whole box of donuts once a week, it's going to affect your overall level of weight. And you know what? Binge eating is actually more common in men than it is in women. So your females are going to be more likely to have the weight problems to go the other way, where they restrict calories because we have such pressure on women to stay thin. And your men, on the other hand, are going to be more likely to engage in binge eating disorders, right? Yeah, right. I have a couple of students that post on Facebook. I accept friend requests from students on Facebook. I never send friend requests, so I'm not going to creep on you or try to become your friend on Facebook. But if you send me a friend request, I'll become your Facebook friend. And I think I can think of these two female students that I have right now that are in their 20s that I've gotten to know, and they've told me about their history, and I found that they've had difficult experiences as teenage females. And one of the things that really worries me about these two young ladies is that their Facebook pictures are always filtered. Always, always, always. Now, it's okay if you want to look good, but I can tell that there's something going on in the background that makes these ladies feel like their regular appearance isn't good enough. And I would agree with you, Amber. Those old dogs like me, I don't care. I like my wrinkles and my gray hair. But there are definitely a lot of people, especially females, image-driven females, who fall into this trap, because society seems to be so unforgiving towards female appearance, right? And it's terrible. There you go, Amber. Let's embrace our wrinkles and our gray hair, right? Now, smoking, I got a couple of minutes. If you're smoking, quit it. All right, 1 in 5 Americans report smoking. 30% of all smokers are in China. Did you know that 500,000 deaths a year in the United States and over 5 million deaths a year worldwide are attributed to smoking. It's going to take about 12 years off your life. It's going to increase your likelihood of getting heart disease, respiratory ailments, and the doctors thought that my throat cancer was related to my smoking as a teenager. Now, I will tell you that I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day from the time I was 17 until the age of 32. I spent 15 years as a heavy smoker. I quit because my little 3-year-old son picked up my pack of cigarettes one day and showed some interest in them. And I just, at the moment, I had a moment of clarity and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I'm spending almost $10 a day on cigarettes and my kid's probably going to smoke. So I quit when I was 32. Now, I got cancer last year at 51. I had been quit smoking for 19 years, so I thought I was in the clear and smoking didn't matter for me. But you know what? It turned out when I went to the radiation oncologist, when I went to the surgical oncologist, when I went to the hematology oncologist, every doctor, all they wanted to do was talk about the fact that I had smoked 20 years ago. I didn't realize how long the dangers of smoking last. Please, for the love of God, if you're smoking, drop them cancer sticks now. I know it sounds hard, but I did it too. I was the most unhealthy person. I was obese and a heavy smoker. And you know what? That has implications. So if you're smoking, please, for the love of God, do Dr. Roddenberry a favor and drop those cancer sticks. You'll save a ton of money. You'll have less burned clothes. You won't stink as bad, and it will prevent you from getting heart disease or cancer. Most smokers like me began in childhood or early adolescence. I started smoking at 15 because my buddies were smoking, and I'd have a cigarette here or there, and it was cool to have a Camel cigarette or a Marlboro Red because we were cool. We'd go to parties and have beer and drink cigarettes. So I got my habit in teenage years. If you can make it through your teenage years without starting the smoking habit, you're more likely not to ever smoke. 1/3 of people who smoke will die because of smoking. Now, the cool thing is adolescent smoking has decreased by half since 1990. All my friends in the 80s smoked cigarettes. However, kids have replaced smoking with vaping. Nobody knows exactly what the health effects of vaping are going to be. I can't imagine it's good, but it at least doesn't have all those chemicals and those tars that are in cigarettes. But still, I would say if you can, quit the vaping as well. Amber Casey quit in 2011. Your dad quit in his 40s and, oh no, he started in his 70s. How could you start back after 30 years? I cannot believe that. Ryan Wheeler quit 3 months ago. Good job, Ryan. Remember this one piece of evidence. You can never, ever, ever smoke a cigarette again. Once you quit, you cannot smoke one cigarette. I quit 3 different times before I finally took the cure as a 32-year-old. And I remember I quit for 6 months one time and I quit for a year one time. And I thought I was over it. I'm at a party and I'm like, you know what? I'm past cigarettes. I can have one cigarette. As soon as I puffed that cancer stick, that's all I could think about. And I fell off the wagon twice. So just remember, don't ever start smoking again. I know, right? Sometimes people who quit smoking can be a little bit judgmental. I'm not one of those people, and I'm not going to give you a nasty look, but I am going to tell you that when I went to the cancer doctor, all they freaking wanted to talk about was the fact that I had smoked 20 years before. Okay, you can try your nicotine replacement Chantix, which is an agonist that binds with your body's nicotine receptors to decrease the cravings for nicotine. Not very effective. I will tell you that what I did was I woke up one day, I threw my cigarettes in the garbage, and I told myself, I am not a smoker anymore. And really, I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah, it's a little miserable. It's going to be miserable for about a week. But just put yourself in the, say, I'm going to be miserable for 1 week. And you'll be surprised every day you wake up. You're going to have those cravings, but if you can get through that first week, the cravings aren't as bad and they won't come as often. You know what? I've been quit 20 years. Occasionally, I still look at a cigarette and go, man, I'd like to have a cigarette, but then I tell myself no. So if you can, please, please, please throw those cigarettes in the garbage and say, I am not a smoker anymore. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry we're at 9:54. I hope you found this useful. As I suggested to you, behavioral psychologists are those people who know about the bad habits and the good habits that we can engage in that can affect our health and well-being. And they are the ones that help us change our habits so that we can live a happier, healthier, and longer life. Remember, the average lifespan at 1900 was 47 years. It's now at 80. If you change your habits, you too can live a longer, happier, healthier life. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, good deal. Yes, it is expensive. I mean, they'll kill you now, Ryan, on the dollars that it costs to smoke. And if you can avoid falling off that wagon, you'll be happier for it. But I am proud of you, Ryan, for 30 years. I am super proud of you, Amber, and any of you who want to talk about quitting cigarettes, I would be more than happy to talk to you. I promise I won't preach to you because I was there once and I don't feel like I'm any better than you. But if you want to talk about these healthy habits, losing weight, quitting cigarettes, not drinking as much as you do, Dr. Roddenberry has fallen all of those pitfalls, and I would be more than happy to help you if you want to change those habits in your life. Okay, great. Everybody have a great day, and I will see you on Wednesday night for webinar, or if not, I will see you Thursday morning in class. Take care and have a great day on purpose. Bye.